Live from WTOC, the Southeast News leader. The News Now starts on WTOC Plus.
Welcome to The News on WTOC Plus. I'm digital anchor Jude Binkley. We start this afternoon on the Crime Watch. Deputies in Beaufort County arrested a man for attempted sexual assault. 35-year-old Joshua Allen Mayfield of Varnville was arrested. BCSO says the charges come after he attacked a 25-year-old woman at the Hilton Head Walmart on Saturday by going into the women's restroom, pointing a gun at her, and trying to sexually assault her. Now, the victim fought off the attacker, according to BCSO, and the attack was interrupted by a 78-year-old male who heard the commotion and went into the bathroom to see if someone needed help. The suspect pointed the gun at that male and then fled the store. Mayfield faces multiple charges, including assault with the intent to commit criminal conduct, kidnapping, and burglary. Well, the Georgia Department of Corrections says an inmate at the Telfair State Prison died after a fight. Preston Phillips died on December 13th after an altercation with multiple offenders. That's according to GDOC. Corrections officials say his death is being investigated as a homicide. Now, his name may sound familiar. Phillips was serving life with parole for murder out of Chatham County. We had covered this case extensively because back in 2012, then 14-year-old Phillips was charged as an adult. That was in connection with the death of his father, Thomas Phillips. Phillips pled guilty to malice murder and was sentenced to life in prison in 2013. His mother was also charged with 4 counts of false statements and writings, 2 counts of tampering with evidence, and 2 counts of concealing a death. Well, WTOC is continuing to follow the tragic attack on a woman who was walking in Forsyth Park last Wednesday. Now, Savannah police say they have spoken with 2 potential witnesses who were nearby the time of the attack at the tennis courts. Now, this week we showed you a photo of a man police say they want to identify and speak with. Police say this person is not a suspect, but potentially a witness. SPD also put out an enhanced photo of that same man, hoping someone can identify him. They need to question him to help with the investigation. Now, SPD also needs to ID the driver of that white SUV. It was traveling on Whitaker around 8:15 the night of that assault. Police are still looking for a suspect in the case. SPD says a random man poured acid on a woman before running away earlier this week. That victim, Ashley, is undergoing specialized burn treatment, including skin grafts, at a hospital in Augusta. There has been a GoFundMe set up to help pay for medical care moving forward, and if you'd like to help Ashley, you can find that link on WTOC.com. Well, we're learning more details about a murder trial underway in Savannah. Charles Teeple IV is accused of punching an elderly man on New Year's Eve back in 2019, an attack prosecutors say led to the man's death several days later in the hospital. We've learned Teeple has pleaded not guilty to charges in the indictment. Jury selection is expected to begin anytime this afternoon. Now, Bruce Helmy had told officers he had been punched by a man at a restaurant, and witnesses say the attack was unexpected and unprovoked. Helmy, a retired master firefighter with the Savannah Fire Department, refused medical treatment the night of the incident and went home. Now, be sure to stick with us on air and online as we learn more updates from this trial. Again, we have crews in that courtroom right now. Well, the family behind Austin's Law is now speaking out after the state's first conviction under the law targeting drug dealers with fentanyl in what they sell. Now, Austin's Law lets prosecutors charge fentanyl dealers with an upgraded charge of aggravated involuntary manslaughter, targeting the intentional sale of a substance with fentanyl that leads to someone's death. Convictions carry at least 10 years in prison and up to 30 years or life. Now, Austin Walters died in 2014 after taking a Xanax pill that was laced with fentanyl. At the time, Georgia didn't have a law on the books to hold the drug dealer accountable. Gus and Beth Walters pushed for new legislation to prevent more deaths like their sons. And now Carroll County has sentenced a man and woman to decades in prison as the state's first convictions under Austin's Law.
But the fact of the matter is you don't know when you're getting a pill that's laced with fentanyl or cocaine that's laced with fentanyl, marijuana that's laced with fentanyl. And now we're finding out vape pens have fentanyl in them too. And so what we're trying to do is educate through our tragedy.
Austin's Law went into effect in April of last year. Turning now to international news, Australia is reeling from a deadly terror attack on Jews celebrating the opening night of Hanukkah. It was the country's worst mass shooting in nearly 30 years, and Anna Corin reports from Sydney.
As gunshots rang out over Bondi Beach, disbelief turned to utter terror. As two gunmen, a father and a son, armed with high-powered rifles, unleashed absolute carnage. Their target, a Hanukkah festival. Up to 60 shots were fired for around 10 minutes. A courageous civilian, Ahmed Al-Ahmed, crept up on one of the attackers and wrestled the gun from him. The final shootout with police captured by a drone. Among some of the first responders was Bondi lifeguard Ben Ferguson.
It was ground zero. They were all there, and then we ended up carrying bodies into transferring them to the stretchers.
Rabbi Eli Schlanger was among the dead. He and his wife had just welcomed the birth of their 5th child. We spoke to his brother-in-law.
She's in shock, but she's obviously, broken. It's something that, no person should ever have to endure.
But many in the Jewish community feared it was only a matter of time, with synagogues firebombed and vandalised since the October 7 attacks.
Soaring levels of anti-Semitism and incitement, and in many ways this made this predictable. And we warned that this would happen, and yet you just don't expect it to happen. Because it's Sydney, Australia, it's Bondi Beach, it's our peaceful homeland here.
Well, people are obviously grieving. They are also angry. We've spoken to a number of residents here who say these acts of violence do not happen in Australia. And they blame the government for not doing enough to stamp out anti-Semitism, which is on the rise in this country. Anna Corin, CBS News, Bondi Beach, Australia.
And Jewish communities all over the United States have been grieving this attack, including communities right here in Georgia. Mary Kate Hamilton with our sister station in Atlanta has been speaking with Jewish leaders all day, who now say they'll be tightening up security.
As menorahs are lit across metro Atlanta, darkness clouds this year's Hanukkah celebrations after a brutal attack that killed at least 15 people in Australia.
It's been a very dark year.
Dozens of Hanukkah events will go on as scheduled this week in Atlanta as the Jewish community vows to continue to celebrate their faith loudly.
We are going to stand up and we're going to fight back. It's okay to be scared, but it's not okay to be paralyzed by it and to stop moving.
However, security now top priority.
Of course, the minute the news came out from Australia, we were in touch with our law enforcement partners. We went back through the plans. We amped them up where we needed to. People will see extra patrols around, not because there's threats, but because we just want to make sure everybody knows that they're safe.
The Jewish Federation of Greater Atlanta says it spends millions of dollars every year securing their community from anti-Semitism and has built a strong relationship with law enforcement partners.
They are so supportive, and they will be at our events. They will amp up the security. We have no credible threats, no reason to believe that lone actors somewhere else will affect anything here. And we want to give our community the chance to celebrate.
According to the CEO of the Jewish Federation of Greater Atlanta, the decision to celebrate Hanukkah this year in the wake of such a tragedy is not an isolated act of resilience. It's part of the very fabric of the Jewish faith and culture.
It's core to who we are. This is what the Jewish people is all about. It is at every point through our history, we rise above it and we believe in what we stand for, and we know we have amazing things to offer the world, and we have to continue to push to bring that light into the world.
Well, we continue to follow this news of Rob Reiner's death. The son of the Hollywood icon is now being held on a $4 million bail in connection with his parents' deaths. Gwen Bumgardner has the latest from Los Angeles.
A crime scene cleanup truck arrived early this morning at the Los Angeles home of legendary filmmaker Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle. According to online records from the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, the couple's 32-year-old son Nick has been booked in connection with what the police are calling an apparent homicide.
We have our robbery homicide division handling the investigation. They worked throughout the night on this case and were able to take into custody Nick Reiner, a suspect in this case.
Police say first responders found the bodies last night. Rob Reiner, son of late comedic great Carl Reiner, initially gained fame playing Archie Bunker's son-in-law, Meathead, on CBS's All in the Family. He went on to direct dozens of iconic films, including This Is Spinal Tap, The Princess Bride, and When Harry Met Sally.
Just really surreal and still in shock, to be honest. It's just still in shock.
Jerry O'Connell was one of the child co-stars of Reiner's classic film Stand By Me.
Rob was like a father to me. He was like a father to me.
The couple's son Nick has been booked on $4 million bail. In a statement about the Reiner's death, the family says it's heartbroken by the sudden loss and asks for privacy. Hollywood is mourning the tragic loss. Flowers mark Reiner's star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And the Princess Bride star, Carrie Elways, posted on Instagram a photo from the movie set captioning it, "No words." Gwen Baumgartner, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Well, back here in Georgia, one Atlanta pastor is saying, like many other Georgians, he's struggling to pay the electric bill at his church. The pastor says the church's electricity bills have skyrocketed, forcing leaders to cut vital community programs. While energy efficiency efforts have provided some relief, he says it hasn't been enough. Pastor Thrasher is hopeful a solar panel program, already lowering his family's electric bill, could also bring relief to the church. Georgia Power says rates are expected to decrease next year and will be frozen through the end of 2028. The company is working with the Public Service Commission to pass along lower costs, though approval for the decreases is expected to take several months.
If I see a decrease, that would be wonderful, as it would help out a lot of people. But until I see it, I don't know if I quite trust it.
Georgia Power's advice for an energy-efficient holiday season is to use LED lights, which take about 50% less power. The company also recommends putting decorations on a timer so they're not left on at night. Turning now to health news, 1 in 10 people with measles ends up in the hospital. That's according to South Carolina health officials. And with 126 cases now confirmed in the state of South Carolina, doctors across the state are warning travelers to take holiday precautions when traveling this season. Since last Tuesday, South Carolina's Department of Public Health has confirmed 42 new cases of measles. Those are all in the upstate. Dr. Taras Nublik with Novent Health said he wants residents to know that the virus can stay airborne for 2 hours after someone leaves a room. And he also says vaccination is the best way to protect your friends and family. The measles vaccine is 93% effective after one dose. That's critical protection, especially for children who make up the most of the cases. Without the vaccine, measles hospitalizes 10% of residents. That means 1 in 10 people who get measles will need hospital care, and close contacts could be quarantined during the holidays. Now, since most of the cases are in upstate South Carolina, the worry might seem far away, but traveling could bring measles closer than you think without precautions.
Even things like holiday shopping, going to the mall, going to Walmart, going to things, you never know where you can get exposed. And people can transmit it 4 days prior to showing symptoms. So you could contract it from a completely asymptomatic individual at your church, at your school, at the mall. So being in a certain corner of the state doesn't guarantee protection.
The vaccine is free at most pharmacies and the health department offices as well, and it could keep your family out of the hospital and out of quarantine this Christmas. Well, recently there has been a lot of debate over the efficiency of vaccines, but a new poll found Georgia patients still overwhelmingly trust childhood vaccines. State reporter Abby Kasouris spoke with researchers behind the poll about the ever-changing federal recommendations.
The Emory Center for Child Health Policy surveyed more than 1,000 Georgia parents and found strong, steady support for childhood vaccines, including 88% who believe routine vaccines are safe, even as national guidelines may soon shift. But even with high trust, many parents say they're still sorting through mixed messages.
Very concerned.
Birthday stories like Charmaine Hutchins reflect what many parents are feeling. They're not rejecting vaccines, they're trying to navigate changing information. The poll comes just days after ACIP, the CDC's vaccine advisory panel, voted 8-3 to end universal recommendation that all newborns receive receive the hepatitis B shot at birth. Under the new guidance, only babies born to mothers who test positive would get the shot right away, a major shift from more than 30 years of policy that helped nearly eliminate childhood Hep B. Dr. Stephen Patrick warns the change could create more confusion.
You know, some of the arguments seem logical, that if a parent, if a mom is hepatitis B negative, well, then they're not going to infect their infant. But that's not universally true. We know, for one, people can get infected after they get tested, and then they could pass it to their child. But you can also get it from just the community. It's very infectious.
The poll also found that the majority of Georgia parents don't realize that insurance companies follow the committee's guidelines, meaning if they don't recommend the shots, they won't be covered by insurance. Patrick says that's why this Georgia data matters, because what happens in that committee could directly affect what families pay.
These are the diseases that we could be rid of, and I think we forget what things were like 30, 40, 50 years ago, where we had these diseases. And you know, this is why kids today are far healthier than they were 100 years ago.
The Emory Center will release more findings through 2026 as part of its State of Child Health report. In Atlanta, I'm Abby Casores.
And with that, we are going to wrap things up here for the news on WTOC Plus. We appreciate you spending part of your afternoon with us. We'll be back at the top of the hour for another round of stories during Welcome to Our Community. And in the meantime, you can always head on over to our website to catch the latest updates at WTOC.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll now join Local News Live in progress.